Right, streaming. We are streaming. And it's nearly time.
Shut that door, eh?
Yeah, go on, why not?
Stopwatch and start. So you can see what we're doing here. Okay, and it's 1 o'clock. So hello everybody. I'm Brook. This is Margaret and Lincoln. And today we're actually going through the caves. You'll remember yesterday we did some level design, deciding what levels we were going to have in the game. And today we're having a look, going through each of the caves we've already got set up to see what levels basically fit in what caves. So yeah, essentially a bit of an exploration. Okay, I guess without further ado, unfortunately our controller is not working, so I won't be able to actually kill any
You'll be able to use the mouse.
zombies.
You can fire with the mouse.
Cool, okay.
Just had some technical troubles today with attaching to external screens and a headset and all of the peripherals. One of them gave up the ghost. So.
Okay, so I'm going to have the headset on from here on in, and you'll be having my point of view. So.
Oh, you might want to mention, I don't know whether the audio of this is going to override your audio on your microphone.
No, it's turned off.
Should be right. Okay.
Yeah. What we should do is make sure that we've got this happening at the back.
Yep.
But you can probably hear the audio, Margaret, just to make sure we're not screwing up.
No, because Twitch is not loading on my phone.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a nuisance, but
That's just rude.
we might have to do that on my phone.
Okay, so shall I load the first level?
Okay, I can actually hear myself talking
What is that?
on the other thing.
If I press play on the first level.
Yep.
Alright, I'll press play on the first level anyway and we'll just see how this goes. Alright, can you see? Yep.
Okay, so I'm all around. I can see the very first cave.
So this is obviously the first main cave, and we've just set up a viewpoint where it feels like you're just entering to some stairs.
Yeah.
If you look to your left, Brook.
Looking to my left.
You're other left, more left.
That was under control.
So at the moment, each level has just got probably 2 spawn points of zombies and the starting position. This is a good example that this particular level hasn't actually been pumped out yet. It's really just basic. It's just some walls and pillars. You'll notice that there's probably some strange stretching of textures on the floor. So the texture on the floor is probably way too big. It's been scaled up.
Okay.
Lots of ugly little bits like that, purely because when I built this level, I built it standing about effectively what feels like 100 metres down that corridor. So from that viewpoint, so this stuff is just placed randomly for now.
So what we said on this level, when we were talking about the levels yesterday, is level 1. We would have 20 zombies come from in front of us, and then 1 from behind. So
yep.
I suppose this is the behind.
Yeah, up those stairs, what I'll eventually do is up the stairs behind you, I'll probably put another little room or maybe some further stairs that go to the outside. The idea of that, if you look up there, Brook, see the spotlight?
The spotlight, yep.
Key thing from a level design point of view is I'm looking at lighting. So originally I designed this area from 100 metres down the corridor. I was looking at having some moonlight flooding down these stairs. So that's the idea. For now I've just placed a spotlight that's kind of flooding some very faintly blue light down there. So from a distance it looks nice.
Okay.
At the moment it doesn't look great here because it's missing some geometry. I'll probably add more stairs breaking to the left and right, and maybe you can see outside, and maybe there's some trees and sky, you know.
Okay.
Should we talk about maybe just the general, where we're at generally, because we've got a bunch of zombies kind of floating around. They all look the same. They're all actually floating. They don't have animations. They've all got the ragdoll thing happening, and they can't attack. So there's. So where are we actually? What's the overall status?
Probably the status at the moment is level design from the sense that getting everything blocked in. Where's your player start the level? Where are the spawn points of the zombies roughly? And we've got all of our cave geometry in there. So it means that really there's minimal actual programming being done yet in terms of gameplay. So you ready for me to load the next level, Brook?
Yes, I am.
Sorry.
So I had to kill the sound on the Twitch stream too because I was hearing myself coming, my voice coming
Right,
back to me.
I'll press play. This is the second viewpoint, one that you're probably familiar with. And the mouse will be just in front of you, Brook, if you need it. So obviously you've gone down the stairs, you're into the cave proper now.
So these are the stairs I could see, so I was standing up there.
Exactly. You were standing between those pillars before.
Yeah.
So the whole idea is each viewpoint you feel like you've moved slowly down the system of the caves. There's quite a lot of zombies here.
Mow those fuckers down.
Obviously, this is a viewpoint where you've got 3 zombie spawn points. You're in the intersection of a Y-shaped tunnel, so they're coming from every direction. So, and I probably bumped the number of zombies up to like 20 from one of the viewpoints just for testing purposes.
Yeah.
And you can see
weird and they come through the water over there.
Anyone watching will probably go, oh, it's quite bright. Well, that's done on purpose for today because normally this tunnel's much darker. When you put the VR headset on, it's quite dark and airy but when we try to show it on a screen for the purposes of like a Twitch stream, it was nearly impossible to see the cave system. So for now, I've bumped up the lighting by almost twice as bright as it is actually normally. So if you look around and go, it doesn't look that beautiful, it's because we had to do that to get it so you could see it on
basically
the screen.
so we could show off the caves.
Yeah.
I think people will remember the last time we tried to do this, we were capturing a very small window.
Yeah.
And it was very dark, so it was actually very difficult for people to see us. There's a sheep in here somewhere. I just heard a sheep.
It's a Wookiee.
It was a Wookiee.
That's a Wookiee.
You don't know a Wookiee when you hear one. My God.
Well, I'm listening to it over the sound of wind and water. It sounded like a sheep, honestly.
Really sounds like a Wookiee.
Okay, and obviously there's stuff that's just been dropped in the scene, like the coffins are just for now, they've just dropped there just as assets, just to get a feel for how do the zombies navigate around it. If you drop that item on the nav mesh, does the zombie go around it, over it, through it? You know, just little things like this that probably, I mean, I'm more of an artist, but once it gets handed over to the programmer guys, we'll probably delve more deeper into that. And obviously there's animations to add to the characters and yada yada yada.
Okay.
Next
so
next
let's
view.
move into the next one. Oh, so that one does not quite fit with level 2, does it? Because we wanted something very similar to the first, but zombies from both sides. So
Well,
we still want to
you
be on
might
top
find
of those
that
stairs.
the next one maybe fits better. So this is a viewpoint where you've moved slightly down the corridor again. You're on the bend of, you might have to turn around behind you, Brook, to see back. So that's where you were over there.
Yeah.
Just gone jumpy for a second there.
Just going jumpy in here as well.
Wait up. Yeah, try now.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. So I guess one of the things, so we've started up there. We probably should start at the top of the staircase with one spawn point behind and
yeah,
one
and this
in front.
is all stuff that we can tweak later. For now, all I've done is I've created the viewpoints and thrown a couple of spawn points. This is before I'd known about the existing stuff I did the other day.
Yeah.
It's a 2-minute job just to move delete a spawn point, move the player start. It's easy.
Yeah. So what we want to do is actually have, by the time we get to zombies coming from 3 directions, we really want to have done those two-directional things.
Yeah.
So the first one is they learn about the second direction just by having one zombie attack them from behind after 19 have come from in front. In the second one, they're going to realise they've got to keep turning, so they're shooting the ones behind as well as the front. So I guess the way we onboard people, the way we ease them into it, they're actually learning, even though we're not doing any formal tutorials.
Yeah.
In fact, I don't think anybody here likes formal tutorials, do they?
No.
And
Most
they tend to
people
drag
most people
the
are
game.
clever enough to work out that once they get eaten by a zombie from behind, maybe next time. For people that don't have their mind in the gutter. Dear oh dear.
There's some red writing above my head.
Yeah, in the headset, if the lighting needs to be rebuilt with an Unreal Engine, you may get a little. It probably says something like lighting needs to be rebuilt, but it's so high that you can't actually get your eyes to see it.
So I've got.
Right, I'll load level 4, which if I play. Just trying to remember this. If you have a good look around, you should.
Somebody needs to keep track of the time while I'm doing this.
Oh, yeah. I think your phone had it going.
So where are we with respect to where we were?
Right up. You're around a little bit of a bend, and see down there?
Yeah.
You're effectively standing on the intersection between this cave system, which is viewpoints 1 to 4, and the next cave system, which is your umami cave, which is viewpoints, probably the next 6 viewpoints, or the next 4, I'm not sure.
Okay.
So you can see that kind of joined section there. So this is a bend in the road as such, where probably haven't got any zombies spawning at the moment because I have there's a slight bug with that. But this was a test viewpoint.
Okay.
So looking to your left at the moment, you're looking at a wall at the moment. If you look, that's your right. But that way is back where you just came from, just around the bends.
Okay.
And what we'll do is use lighting as we go. So it might be that there's a bit more of a moonlight shaft there, and looking this direction is going into the next cavern. So
we need something up there to sort of.
It's like a visual
feature that
exactly
reminds us that we are in the same spot. We've just moved a bit further on.
Exactly.
That water looks beautiful. I have to say, I'm always impressed with the water here.
And
the seepage dropping in from the roof.
Yeah, I've added a water plane that's got some animation on it, and there is some drips which are a particle effect, and these are from Epics. So I can't remember what from. I think they were the effects that came with the Soul Cave free release from Epic. Just customised a little bit to suit our setup.
Okay, so this is beautiful.
So if we shall load the next one.
Yep.
Level 5. This should now be just through that entrance way, and we're now in the start of what you would call your umami cave. If you look behind you, you should see that little area that you were just standing in. Sort of, there's a pillar there, but yeah, back there, that's kind of where you just were. And
okay, so it's up there. So again, some visual.
Exactly, you just need as we develop it, we'll add little visual cues that will tie things together. So this is where your sniffer guy will initially be patrolling the close foreground or midground in a pool of light kind of. You can't see it at the moment again because we've increased the brightness quite strong. But when you turn the brightness down, there's like a little pool of light in the midground where a character can walk back and forward and he's looking for you. And I think this is a level where you have minimal bullets and you've got to strategically take out the right things in the right way. Otherwise, all the zombies come flooding at you.
One bullet, 100 zombies. So what I really like about it, what I think is really interesting, is just how compelling it is to shoot zombies, even though you don't.
Yeah, exactly. I'm shooting them now, but I don't really need to.
Exactly.
And I think this cave has got, might be 3 viewpoints. So slightly to your right, there's a pillar that's lying on the ground just there.
Yes.
The next viewpoint will be kind of over by that pillar.
Okay.
And then the viewpoint after that is at the other end of this cave, down in the foggy distance there somewhere. So you
I love how they glide at you. I think gliding zombies are way more scary.
We should put them on rollerblades.
Oh, yeah.
We should just activate their walking animation.
Oh, come on. Pedestrian. See what I did there?
Yes, pedestrian.
Thank you. Well, laugh.
David Bowie, Labyrinth.
Still no laugh.
Alright, so shall I move you to the next spot
Yes,
by that
please.
pillar? Alright.
So how are we doing time-wise, Margaret? Because I can't see the time in here.
You've been in there for 13 minutes.
13 minutes.
Right, we should now be down by that pillar, and you'll notice probably a little weirdness on the ground, like some stretching of textures. That's just because the ground was just mocked up from the other end of the cave where you couldn't see it, and I've moved the viewpoint. So obviously the next phase is just to beautify this viewpoint.
Just a little note here, we should actually research whether rebar was available to Victoria.
No, that's again, that's another free asset that was released by FA, so it might not end up in the final game. For now, it's kind of like placeholder.
I'd really like to know. They have plentiful ironworks. Do they have rebar?
Don't think they did. I think rebar is more of a modern.
When did concrete come along? I think the Romans used concrete,
Yeah.
didn't they? But there was a gap.
The Romans definitely used concrete. I don't think they had rebar.
No. But then when did concrete become more popularised?
After the turn of the century, because even in like Victorian times, they just used brick a lot, didn't
Yeah.
they?
Yeah.
Didn't really use reinforcing rods. So again, gameplay is a little bit devoid here because that's the next level of what we're doing. This is more of really environment layout.
Yes, people might be a little surprised at the fact that we're using so many downloaded assets rather than developing our own. But essentially, as a small studio, we are trying to produce something really good that we can actually afford to do.
And I guess it's a case of if you've only got a couple of 3D people utilising their time wisely. So up till now, they've been working mostly on the characters and not really on the environment stuff. And it might be that at a later date we change out these pillars, for example, might get changed when we have time to model.
We'll certainly get rid of the rebar.
Yeah. Next level will be at the end of that cave. It should be.
So how many levels have we done so far?
I'll tell you in a sec. I'm not sure because we're in full screen mode. So basically you're at the other end of that cave that you were just in. If you look behind you, you'll probably see the pillars there.
Yeah, okay.
And there's a sort of shaft of light that was hitting a rock where you first came in. So that's actually kind of, it's too strong at the moment, but at the very end you can see a shaft of light going diagonally, like moonlight.
Go back to your left again, Brook.
Back, yeah, straight ahead of you now.
Yeah.
So the shaft at the end of light is the kind of visual cues we're going to try and use. So that's when you first come into the room. Again, it's more noticeable when it's a dark room, but there's like a pool of light kind of glowing on a rock.
Yeah.
And when you get to this end of the cave, you look back and you can see that shaft of light and the pool of light on this rock. So it's a visual cue time back, so you feel like you've moved through the cave. You can see them spawning there, actually, they're just appearing.
Yeah, we need to hide that spawn point.
Yeah.
We should point out there are lots of other varieties of zombies. We have one test zombie in here at the moment.
And the boss level, we've got the bosses kind of in there as well, but
we don't see them yet, do we?
No.
I've fretted really about whether we should show people the boss or
yeah,
not.
that is a good point.
But
No, gotta keep something.
well, we have shown him, but I guess what we probably need to do is gameplay-wise, we need to keep him.
Right.
One little secret even for the people that followed this stream.
So the one you were just doing was level 7. This is now jumping to level 21 just because of the assets that I've already put in sequence. So this is the start of your moonlit sort of zone.
Okay, so how many levels have we done to this point?
Oh, that was like 7 or 8.
Okay, because I think we're going to run to the end of this
Well,
thing.
we can go much quicker through
No,
this.
we need to go more slowly through this. What I'm
Ah,
saying is you're going to run to the end before we get to the end of our stream.
So if you look behind you, you'll see some horribly bright white light. That's because obviously that mesh and cave system I haven't attached to anything else yet. But effectively behind you would probably be the moonlit zone. This might be your first tastes of coming into a different zone where everything's lit by torches and reddish glows.
Yep. So obviously still some wind here because 1, you can hear it, and 2, look at how it's blowing the braziers around.
Yep.
Braziers look great.
Yeah.
And you'll probably notice this level, the pitch won't be so bad, but when you load the next level, you'll notice that the audio changes and the audio gets more echoey, the wind sound effects.
Mm-hmm.
But you'll notice that when we get into this cool chamber that's coming up where any noise should be quite echoey.
Yeah.
And eventually that wind sound should vanish because we're getting deeper and deeper into the catacombs. It should just go away.
We're not actually picking up this wind sound for the viewers on Twitch, so they can't actually hear it. We're just so yeah, we can describe it, but we are going to have anher session on sound design.
I'm not going to make wind noises.
Well, that's a blessing.
Yeah. We don't need that. All right, so can we move on to the next point?
Not that kind of wind.
We're going a little bit further forward.
Okay, and you should be in this view fractionally forward to the point where you're now. Have a look around. Behind you, you should see where you were just standing. Yep. Yeah. And now the zombies are spawning behind you. And
I love that one.
Yeah, this is beautiful. So I can see down there over the edge. That's very...
very vertigo-inducing.
Yes. Quite fear-inspiring. I wanted to see if I can knock one over the edge. Maybe I'll wait till they come around that corner.
I think wait till they come right to here, Brook, right to the front, just like half a metre away from you, and wait till they're standing still and you shoot them and they go plummeting.
Yeah.
Plummeting off that ledge.
There's
I
nothing
get one
like
going plummeting off that ledge. There he goes.
Almost.
Nah.
What about you? Whoa, he's gone.
He's gone, yeah. I think if you headshot them there, they go a decent distance.
Nope, you can just see
You
that
can see
one.
them tumbling down in the background. That's excellent. It's very satisfying to see them go over the edge.
There we go. Something swinging there to knock them over the edge would be fun.
Yeah, I think that would be good gameplay for here, given it's a narrow ledge, something that knocks them.
Yeah.
The big question is, do you end up with something that's a bit too Tomb Raider-ish, where it's like, you know, swinging axes and darts shooting out of walls kind of thing? Or do
a little bit Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah. We're talking about having things that would roll at you. Well, they can't roll at you, but maybe you shoot a barrel that's holding a rock in place, and that rock starts rolling down the ledge and squashes them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what we're, where we go next is we actually go down this path.
Yeah.
And then a right, and down there somewhere is where our next viewport is, or is it down here somewhere?
Just to the left of those barrels, so just where that zombie came from.
Okay.
And then after that, you end up at a viewpoint on the bottom of this chasm, and then there's one right at the exit, I think. Can't quite remember.
I like when they bounce along on the physics, but as we've explained before, they still fall like a bag of jelly rather than like something with bones in. They don't have sufficient physics constraints yet. Oh, the world just tilted for a while. Did somebody bump the sensor?
No, it might just...
Somebody shaking the floor?
Not even that.
No, okay.
Shall I load you into the next spot halfway down?
Yeah, let's go further down there.
Let's go. Right, you should now be...
Face that he's not going to work on your phone.
Not with this face.
No.
I wished I'd turned off the... Alright, so that's where we can knock them off and see them all fall down the side. Yeah, that's excellent.
It's pretty satisfying.
Okay, so this is, it's really, for people that do have a bit of vertigo, this is quite terrifying because we're standing right on the edge.
Down they go. You get two for the price of one, don't you, really? More bang for your buck than just your average shot.
Yeah.
I actually almost think
there's something scary about the fractured rock too, and I guess that's coming from an earthquake zone, Christchurch. You look at those fractures and you think, oh, one little shake.
I'm not very good at all with heights, and I've found that over the period of testing with it, I've gradually become accustomed to it. I'd probably still, if I climbed a ladder at home to clean the gutters out, I'd probably freak out. But
be interesting to see.
But over time, I don't like get the vertigo sense that I used to get from looking over that edge.
That's interesting. I think you should try it with a gutter get up in your gutters this weekend.
Yeah.
So this is some sort of habituation software for people to get vertigo. Excellent.
New markets.
I'm sure people are already
doing
that use. Yeah. I know I've been putting several things where my fear of heights has been challenged.
Not least a climbing wall.
I think the very first experience I tried in VR, we had a guy called Lance working for us, and he put me in this experience where you're standing on top of a building, essentially with your toes hanging over the edge, and you have to fall off.
Oh dear.
And yeah, that was quite challenging. You fell off and you tumbled all the way down. Although you defeated it, didn't you, Margaret? You didn't get the sense of vertigo because you just imagined you were flying rather than falling.
Yeah, I imagined that I just adjusted my brain to think that I was going forward rather than down, and it was just fine.
Yeah, I was unable to do that, so I was just going down.
If I'd kept on with that perception, then I probably would have felt quite unsettled. Oh, right in the head.
Right in the head.
I think we need to have in the final version that you should, when you headshot them, that it should just vaporise and like a cloud of blood just goes.
Like the
That'd be
head
nice.
should vaporise?
Yeah.
That would be cool. All right, so where's our next viewpoint?
I think the next viewpoint is kind of down below you and down on the floor of the cave there, and that misty bit to your left and off the edge, kind of.
This is my left.
Your other left.
That's my right.
Off the ledge anyway. Not towards the exit, but it's like, you'll see. I'll load it.
Yeah. It's interesting when you get into VR, you start to think about things, not in the way you'd normally play a game, but in the VR sense, you get aware of stuff at a much sort of higher resolution. And I'm really thinking there should be some subtle mouth animation on these guys.
Mm. So
But normally, if we were just, if I was just at home playing Left 4 Dead or whatever, I wouldn't care about that.
yeah, if you look up, you'll see the ledges above you, so you should be able to shoot them as they come down along there. Yeah. Boop, boop. And behind you and up, you should be able to see them all the way up. There you go.
Oh, yeah. That's very satisfying.
Oh, I love to see them fall. I really do.
That's great. It is good because it's not just that they're coming straight towards you. You can actually get them at different points, and we have the very satisfying sense of them falling over. Once again, turned around and had a little bit of
It'd be good to get the player start just in the right position that you have to look up and shoot them, and as they fall off the ledge, they go splat at your feet, literally.
Oh,
Like-
yeah.
Like just a metre away from you.
Yeah, like actually splat.
Yeah.
yeah. This is a really interesting way to critique an animation. It's just to be right
Right amongst it.
here, close to them, and having a look.
You stay still for a sec. 'Cause as you're moving, it's hard to tell when you're still.
When you were, I was thinking before, when you were talking about One Direction versus Two Direction,
You're
you
talking
can
about
have
the band?
the band
Zombies.
One
Yeah.
Direction.
Yeah.
Zombies attacking the boy band.
How many boys are there in One Direction? 4 of them? 5 of them?
I don't know.
Don't know.
So easy to find out.
Nobody's going to admit they know anything about One Direction.
Well, unless they're a 12-year-old girl.
You were singing ABBA the other day. That was fun.
Of course I sing ABBA.
All right. So where to next? Lincoln?
Next, I'll have a look, can't remember. So we exit that and we enter the atrium. Okay, there's 7 viewpoints in the atrium.
There were 6 until Zayn Malik departed in 2015.
So the first viewpoint, we come onto this ledge and we go along this ledge that you're standing on. So,
Okay, there's lots of water sound in here.
now, this may look fractionally darker on the screen, but in the actual game, this is quite a dark level because it's a really big cavern. And right now,
Well, zombies in the dark are always going to be scarier than
Yeah,
zombies in
yeah.
the light, aren't they?
so it's hard. There's a fine line between making it bright enough that people can see on the screen and not ruining the
Indeed.
actual
The
tapestry.
Atmos.
Sorry, I'll just load that again. It was going all jumpy. Give me one
Okay.
sec. Try now. Yeah.
It's jumpy, we definitely don't want.
Yeah, this one is the most challenging level technically wise because it's extremely big.
It is a very wide level. It's got water everywhere.
Yeah, there's a lot of effects going on. I've added a waterfall, which the one that's really killing the frame rate is the flame braziers. They have quite a big hit on them. Also, probably the waterfall. So it might. At the moment, the waterfall is just bashed in there, and it will need some massaging to make it look prettier. But it may be that we have to drop that out of the scene if it's killing the frame rate too much because the paddle effect.
Yeah, we've got serious jumpiness here.
Yeah, I noticed that the other day.
It's a shame because I absolutely love the effect of this huge level. Just staring across there.
But there are at the moment it's not optimized at all, and there are ways of optimizing the levels.
I think we're a ways away from optimizing. I think we definitely need to make some changes because you're not going to essentially double the frame rate, and I reckon we're below half the frame rate.
Oh, it's definitely it's around about probably 50 or 60 at the moment on that.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that a big part of that is those flames, because each of those brazier fires is made up of 3 or 4 components. I'm just trying to remember how I built them. There's a point light that's just giving off a glow, which isn't really doing much to the frame rate. There's one particle effect that's giving kind of like embers that are going upwards. There's also another particle effect that's been flipped vertically, and that's throwing small embers out the bottom. Every now and then it spits out a little ember that bounces on the ground. So there's quite a lot of particle work going on.
Okay. Well, from an aesthetic point of view,
lag.
this is absolutely beautiful. It's breathtaking.
So if you look around slightly to your right, you'll see, okay, that way over, sorry, to your right, yeah, there. Your next few points along this ledge just past these guys, and then we come out and go out along the rope bridges, which are fractionally to your left over there, and there's 3 viewpoints along the rope bridges, and then we go down that ledge by those fires to the ground by the water, and then we go out on the ground level. So I'll load you up the next one. So you'll be fractionally further along the ledge now. On the other side, that little walk bridge closer to the waterfall.
Yes, so that's where I was, over there.
Yep.
Where we can see that barrel.
And you'll see probably see some ugliness with the waterfall because the waterfall was made a while ago. There's some weird stuff that I know needs fixing.
Like that water there is flowing through a rock.
Yeah.
Probably not what you intended.
Yeah. And you'll probably notice some strange colour to the steam that's been kicked off the bottom. It's not quite the right colour.
Very sulfuric.
Yeah, it's got a sort of a. And
this is. I'll see if I can do this again, but just dropping this guy
off the cliff
down there and watching him land in the water. That's fantastic. You really get a sense of how far he's falling.
Bouncing.
Yeah, that's amazing. So I could do that all day, just stand there and knock him off the cliff.
The funny one is when they fall off the cliff by themselves. Occasionally,
I saw one just at the edge.
Yeah, but they don't die when they land at the moment because they haven't got any hit stuff on them.
Yeah.
So they get up and they start walking around the bottom, and they're trying to find you on the nav mesh, but they can't find you. They have to find the nearest ramp up.
Yeah.
So and obviously, just straight ahead of you where that brazier is.
Just a moment.
To your right, in there, where it's glowing orange to your right.
To my left?
Your other right. That right.
Oh, okay, in there, yeah.
At the moment, that's solid mesh, but it'll eventually be changed so that there's a couple of viewpoints either behind the waterfall or in another room, and then you come out on the rope bridges that you can just see on the left of frame.
Okay.
You'll come out there after going to another room. So I don't know yet whether that's what we'll do in that room, whether maybe you actually go behind the waterfall, but I think that will be too heavy on particles and really kill frame rate again.
Yeah.
So obviously for
Yeah,
anyone.
we have to find some way to preserve this.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
but actually
This
bring
is
that
probably
frame rate up.
one of the bigger technical challenges. Will be getting this room looking nice, but still behaving nice.
Yeah.
'Cause it's a massive cavern. There's a lot going on. There's a few light sources, and once you start to get other stuff going on, like more environmental animation, or maybe there's rocks that you shoot and they fall over, whatever. It's all going to be a bit of a hit on the processor.
Let's move on.
We're now going to magically jump behind the waterfall and come out at the start of the rope bridges. Right.
Have we had any comments yet? Has anybody joined us? Or?
I don't know. Does it ding, or where do the comments
No, we have
pop up?
some people watching, which is super cool, but nobody's asking any questions. But
Nobody's
if they'd like
talking.
to, that would be groovy. Questions, comments.
So this one, you probably will see the waterfall just below you to your left, but this is where you sort of start across these rope bridges.
Oops.
Splat. And that
I love how they tidied themselves up too at this point.
there's a central platform that they just walked across. At the moment, I can't really see it, but it is actually on like a wooden poles. At the moment, it looks like it's just floating in midair, but it will be tied to the cave floor better.
Looks like they're just tripping over each other. So one goes down and the next one falls over.
The funny bit is that they like plough through each other with their feet and push them along the ground, eh? Oh, if you wait till they let them all come to you, Brook, don't shoot anymore. Let them walk all the way over to and stand in front of you, and then you can shoot them and they tumble off the cliff in front of you.
Okay.
Which
So I'm here, but I can't really see where I've come out of.
No, that's because behind you there should be a hole in the wall going to the area you just came from, which I haven't added yet. I've got to carve a hole out in the mesh and extrude it and basically form a walkway that you just came from. So that guy in front of you, if you shoot his left or right foot, his foot closest to the cliff,
Yeah.
he'll probably tumble off. And it's quite sad.
Will they start falling off by themselves? Because some of them have already got a foot outside.
They might, if you're lucky.
Go on, shoot that one.
I found it quite satisfying watching them tumble off that cliff.
Oh, and bounce. I do love the bounce.
There is a market for like a cliff diving game, I think.
Fuck yeah.
Jellyman. Jellyman 2.
Or a game where you literally just push people off cliffs.
Oh man, how good is
You're giving
that?
away all the good ideas. We're streaming this. That's a great idea. I'd play that.
Who wouldn't?
We could make some great
Maybe,
clips for
maybe
people
you
to
can
push each
like
other off.
people could like customize the characters they're pushing off cliffs to have like their boss's face or something.
Yeah.
Call it work rage.
Yeah, yeah.
Kids can practice it, eh?
On your parents.
Yeah. Do you want to go? I'll put you to the middle of the
Yeah, let's go to the middle of the road bridge.
platform, which is the next few points.
So we haven't really decided what our goals are in any of these levels, but how are they actually matching up with the levels we described?
With the ones that you
So
have on the
we've got-
whiteboard.
Yeah, the ones we got to yesterday.
So you came from directly behind you, Brook, probably over
yeah.
there. Yeah, on that ledge. So yeah, and you'll be heading that direction to the next viewpoint is down there. So it's a three-way rope bridge. Obviously, there's a plethora of gameplay or things you could do here. It's a case of what we want to do. Again, it's something where maybe you could have things that swing and knock them off. Maybe you can set fire to these rope bridges. I don't know. You know, there could be some kind of torches you knock over and they catch on fire. It's made of wood.
So might it destroy some part of the bridge?
Yeah, yeah.
So will anybody come from over there? Because this could be a three-directional challenge.
Can't remember. I think for most of these levels, I've just set them up with 2 spawn points.
Okay.
But the spawn points is literally, it's just a box. You just move it to where you want it.
Triple threat could be fun.
Or duplicate it if you want 10 spawn points. It only takes, 30 seconds to create 10 of them.
So there's some guys that have fallen down and they can't get to us. They're on the rocks over there.
Yeah.
I like how they bounce and flop.
If you're really sadistic, you can create a spawn point right near the edge of a cliff. And they just spawn and fall.
That's a nice idea.
I likes it.
Alright, I'll move you to the next locale.
Oh, there's still a piece of light coming through.
Yeah,
there,
that one I
which
was
is-
going to point out. In the middle of the screen, you can see where Brook's looking. There's like a shaft of light. That
Yeah.
was a pure accident, which I will either leave or plug up. It's a hole in the cave
You
mesh.
can't leave it because it's at the wrong level of the cave.
Yeah. When you turn the light right down, it looks kind of nice, almost like a shaft. But this cave should be deeper than.
Yeah, too deep for moonlight.
Yeah. Like another 50 meters deeper underground. So, alright. But that was what you call a happy accident, I suppose.
Just in the wrong place.
Right, so now you should be, have a good look around, you'll be, trying to remember where, end of the rope bridges to your, behind you, there, yeah,
Okay, I need to
spin around a bit.
spin around. Yeah, so
So
they're
you've-
coming down off the rope bridge.
You're on like a rocky outcropping that has a ramp heading down to the ground. For now, I've just used ramps because stairs, I don't know how the animations are going to work with the zombies, whether their walk cycles will be easy to integrate the steps. But at least ramps, you can, just give them an animation and they'll make their way up it. But it could be that later, if we find need be, we could change these ramps to be actual stairs that are carved out of the rock.
Doesn't seem to be any way to knock them over the edge down that side.
No, the physics is quite clever that it, unless you wait till they get right close to you and shoot them in the foot, and they might flop forwards.
Alright, so we should wait until they come right towards me. Yeah, there's a close-up of one of those braziers, and
Oh, there's
They just-
actually, I
they
just
just
remembered,
look
there's another particle effect going on as well. If you look at it again, Brook, you can see that there's like a steam feeling smoke coming off it.
yeah, I can see
That is a whole,
heat, haze, I can see smoke.
yeah, there's a lot going on there,
Steam.
so it's quite a hit on the frame rate, and they're probably the key reason behind it. But they do look nice. It might be that we limit how many of those are in the scene. At the moment, there's probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them in the scene.
They are very beautiful.
So some guys seem to be off the nav mesh down there.
Yeah, there's a little, what I probably need to do is fill a hole in the nav mesh. There's like a little divot. They can't seem to get around.
Yeah, well, this is beautiful. That light actually goes away when I turn my head, so there's obviously some.
I can fix, that was an issue with the auto exposure I discovered.
Okay.
If you turn your head and it suddenly goes black, like that,
Yeah.
from memory the auto exposure was causing it.
Specifically, that light goes off.
Yeah,
I can see it disappearing. Can you
I'm-
see where I'm on the
Yes.
screen where I'm turning my head and it
What it normally does, by default, they have auto exposure, which basically ramps. When you first put the headset on, it's black,
Mhm.
and your eyes adjust to the light. So the auto exposure adjusts to get brighter and brighter over a few seconds
Okay.
to a point where you set it. The problem with that is when you're turning your head and there's a light source here, it snaps to instantly black again.
Ah, right.
Something like that happens. So if you disable the auto exposure, it seems to fix that problem.
Okay.
But it's probably re-enabled at the moment because I was fiddling around trying to get the brightness up high enough that people could watch it on the screen.
So this looks magnificent from all angles, but I do notice there are a couple of holes on the roof.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. Because when I first built this cave, or assembled all the bits inside it, I did it from a different point in the cave, like standing over on the ledge. So there'll be holes that I wouldn't have seen when I was building it. I'll move you down to the bottom where you're looking now, down by that water. This is the last viewpoint in that atrium. 39? Yeah. Way. Right. Let's have a look around. Oh no. You're now halfway down the ramp. There's one more viewpoint before you leave this cave.
Okay. So we were standing up there.
Yeah,
before.
you were up by that lantern, or the torch, or whatever you want to call it. So we've actually squeezed quite a lot of viewpoints into this one cavern.
We have. I mean, it's a huge cavern.
Yeah. And the idea is that you go through this cavern a couple of times. Remember, you went along the ledge, and then you went behind the waterfall into some other room. Then you come out and did the rope bridges.
Yeah.
And you've come down this ledge. So you've actually gone through this cave twice along the ledges, and then the second time you come out on this side of the cavern. So it's quite a highly used asset in the middle of the game. So it needs to be pretty, but we've got to find that balance between pretty and actually and functioning properly. I'll move you down to the bottom of here. Last viewpoint in this room, I think. Right. You should now be on the ground, because you can see the waterfall. And if you look up a bit, you can see you would have just come down the ramp to your left. It's kind of just up there by that light. Yeah, there's a little ramp there. Yep. And actually, if you look behind you, you'll probably see the entrance to the next phase of. So see how there's a bit of a green glow.
Yeah. So this is going into deep.
This would be the start of the, I guess, what you call the bioluminescent zone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's drown a few of those.
And they plunge.
I don't mind at all. They don't actually disturb water very much.
Yeah, I've still got to check that water plane that's in that level 2.
Oh, that's satisfying. I can knock them off that ledge up there. Go over the edge. Drown. Yep, even just this is fun.
So when would the half zombies kind of thing?
So there's got to be wall niches where there's half zombies.
Right. I'll move you to level 41. This is the pits, which is one of the sort of bioluminescent rooms. These are probably a little bit cruder. Hasn't been finessed so much, but it's kind of a bend that goes to a straight, and a little bit round the bend, not in this viewpoint, there'll be a hole in the ground that you can actually, I guess gameplay wise, we were thinking maybe you can lead the zombies into the pit with maybe your lantern, almost like you do a laser pointer with a cat. You know.
We have another hole up there.
Yeah. This is where you start to see the moss material being used on rocks, like that rock ahead of you. You can see how the moss is growing on the top side of it.
Yeah.
Again, it needs some finesse because you'll probably see on the ground these big swathes of solid moss.
Yeah.
That's just because I haven't. You can.
So that's a shader, isn't it? So
yeah, it's a material that is basically told. Yeah. So initially, when you apply that material to, let's say, the cave floor, the floor goes solid moss because the top of the floor is up. So you have to actually paint it out and then paint back the moss where you want it. But the walls are fine because the way I've got the material set up, the moss will grow anywhere that is kind of on the vertical side of the rock. So you get little niches or holes in the rock, the moss will grow in there, which is nice.
That is nice, yeah. Very natural looking as well, I have to say.
Yeah, and the beauty of that is you can get multiple rocks. You can actually just get one rock, duplicate it, rotate it, mush it back into the other rock, and you've got something that looks totally different again, just with two of the same asset, or two instances of the same asset.
Okay. I can see some fireflies down there.
Yeah, we'll go down to the next view, level 42.
How many more views have we got?
Another 3 or 4.
3 or 4.
This is
tracking quite well for time.
This is the pits, or what I'm calling the pits, mainly because I'm experimenting. Just to your right, back.
Sorry, I was just
looking around. Yep.
So there's some fireflies up against that wall, and there's some fireflies over there. I don't know how visible they are on the screen, but as far as mood of this area.
On the big screen I can see them, but I don't know about on the Twitch screen. It's hard to tell. They might be able to see it.
If they're watching full screen, they'll be able to see it. The rocks, I mean, the rocks are incredibly realistic. It's really well done. The moss makes all the difference. And those fireflies floating about, it's just a beautiful atmosphere.
Yeah.
Of course, it'll be darker, as we've said before, because we've got lights turned on in here.
Yeah, the idea with
the gamma's been turned up basically to make sure that you can actually see out there in Twitch land that you can actually see these games on the game on your screen. But
the idea with this bioluminescent zone is, like Brook was saying, it should be dark, and we'll hopefully have it set up in a way that there's pools of light that are like glowing mushrooms. So we've got mushrooms in there now, but I have to play around with the material properties. Trying to get them to actually emit a glow is tricky without just using a point light. You can make an emissive material, but that tends to make the actual object glow bright white, which isn't quite ideal. So that's something I'm playing with. But worst case scenario, you can see there actually that those little mushrooms in front of you, you can see how the rocks around them have got a slight glow.
Yes.
That's at the moment it's just a point light placed near the mushrooms. The downside of that is if a zombie stands right by the mushrooms, his leg will glow bright white. Probably.
Yeah. I love that barrel with the skeletons in it. But they should be moving, trying to get out the barrel.
We were talking about having maybe 1 in 10 of the barrels, the exploding barrels, that when you shoot it, the zombie crawls out of it.
Yeah.
It's like a lottery.
But even those ones, rather than having them just sitting there, that skull should be jiggling, trying to get out of the barrel. He's all twisted up and disassembled.
These guys, if you shoot them, there's a pit behind them to the right. So if you shoot them and you get them on the right angle, they should fall on the pit. Yeah, just back there. There
we go.
So I was experimenting with the pit, and the idea was that you could try and somehow, maybe there's a stone you move that pushes them into the pit or whatever. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
but
so the pit's the feature of this level.
Yeah, I guess it's
that bit there for
environment design with gameplay in mind, just trying to come up with different ways to lay things out. And hopefully some interesting gameplay will eventuate from that. Or maybe this level gets scrapped at a later date and we just decide it's not quite useful enough for what we want to do. So.
Here he goes into the pit. I think that really shows off the pit.
Into the pit you go.
And you go.
Oh,
you too.
And you.
Yeah, very good.
Right, we'll load the next one.
So, you're rushing a bit, Lincoln.
I can load it again.
That's all right. Let's go on to the next.
So this one is
aware of
time. You can see on the floor there's a good example how there's a block of solid moss. It's just because I haven't cleaned it up yet. It's a case of painting it out or painting it back in. and there'll be holes in the mesh, and there'll be all sorts of ugliness here because I've just set this position up, but I haven't finessed it yet.
Okay. What's the orange over here?
I'm not actually sure what's going on there.
So we just need to have
Might be an orange light source that I had in that zone that I was testing with. I can't remember.
But the moss looks really good. And seeing it on mess like this, I guess you start to see some tiling of it. But,
Yeah, and that, but just here.
but it really does give a sense of lushness of this.
You can see that just to the left of your reticule, going back to the right there, you can see there's a line on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, where obviously I've got two rock meshes. One of them's got, one of them I've actually painted out part of the moss, and the other one I haven't done it yet. So there's like a hard line there where there's moss and then no moss. So
let's see when those zombies clear out. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I like it when they somersault. Yeah. No, it's very good.
What was the audio?
We haven't really got a sense of claustrophobia yet, so I'm assuming as we get later and later in these levels, things will start to close in.
Yeah. The next, remember we've got our, what do we call it, the niches?
Yeah.
That's coming up next. So, yeah, you're right. It should, as we're getting quite deep into the catacombs, it should be getting claustrophobic.
Yeah.
Maybe this level needs to be changed a little bit later, possibly.
I would definitely bring the ceiling down. I'd start to make it so that it feels like you should be stooping when you're walking in there.
Right, so I'll maybe load the next one. Let's go. This should be the niches in theory. No, where's the niches? Oh, there's the. I have to go a different way to load the niche, I think, because I haven't made the levels for it yet. Cave 3B niche. Right, I'll just load this one. Right. So this
This has got a more claustrophobic feel. Low ceiling.
This one was experimental. The direction you're looking now was where I was trying to do higgledy-piggledy niches in the walls with kind of like stacking rocks up on each other.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look to your left, there's a different type of tunnel, I guess you call it, down there. See how it's tight? I've pushed the walls in and I've tried to make it feel much...
some of our friends away here,
keep them out of the road. I've tried to make that feel much more claustrophobic down there. So if you had I haven't got my viewpoint down there yet at the moment, but if you were standing there, you should be able to feel like you could reach out and almost touch both walls with your hands.
I saw one guy appear like he appeared out of the wall from up above and fell down.
Yeah, that'll just be the spawn point.
That'll be the fireman's pole.
Yeah, the spawn point's basically I guess you call it a bounding box. It's just a box in space that you say that they can appear from, and it seems to generate them from random places inside the box.
So I saw one kick another one halfway down the corridor. That was.
Things that are going on here is, again, it's hard to see with the light ramped up like this, but if you look at the pillar behind you, kind of to your left, just behind those guys there, see how there's I've placed a rock and then I've ramped up the moss on top of the rock, then I've placed a light source near it, to your left, right there.
Oh, that one. Oh, right.
So there's a lot going on there. There's a little light source, there's a rock with moss, there's mushrooms, there's glowworms that are, no, not glowworms, what do you call them, fireflies, kind of hovering around.
Yeah.
So the idea here is you'd have pools of light. There's a little pool of light illuminating that little patch, and you have that going on in several places, and it's like little places for your eye to rest, I guess.
Yeah.
And then other areas, as you go into the margins between the pools of light, would be darker, where you can almost not see anything. And that kind of, hopefully, will introduce that feeling that something could come out here out of the shadows.
Yeah, we should have stopped the zombies in this level because it's really hard to have a good look around. But that is, I mean, I love the effect that you get there.
And
I love the coffins and the niches.
have I turned off the wind in this level? It should be just dripping noises.
I can still hear some slight wind, I'm pretty sure.
I can turn that off. But if you look behind you, you should see some water effects. Yeah, over there.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That little pool of water there with the reflections and the water dripping down on it from the ceiling. That is stunning.
We need some, like, carp.
Well, I can make my roadkill swim in there like it's a carp.
Rita kill.
That's another, like, I guess we'll call it a happy accident that when you place those surface effects with the ripples and the water plane, the reticule, your like vision reticule refracts through it.
Yeah.
Which adds a layer of believability, makes it feel real.
Yeah, it really does.
So we've
Alright.
less than 1 minute.
So where shall we go next?
There is the boss levels, but it's debatable.
Let's leave the boss levels.
No.
I think that's probably it for now. But yeah, thank you for the tour there, Lincoln. And
No worries.
I'll now
That is
try to adjust
awesome.
to the real world. Yeah.
How do you know which is which?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so Lincoln, Margaret and myself saying goodbye for today. Hope you enjoyed having a better lit tour of the caves in which we're setting up our levels. We are going to go away and have a look at the levels we wrote on the board yesterday and see what we fit in where. But it's, you know, I get the real feeling now that it's all starting to come together as far as level design goes. We will catch you at 1 o'clock tomorrow, again doing something and streaming the development of our zombie survival game After the Light. So from Brook, Margaret and Lincoln at Stickmen Media, we'll catch you tomorrow.